Imagine entering a dark tunnel beneath the ground with nothing but a small lamp, a simple tool, and the knowledge that the rock above you could collapse at any moment. You are not searching for food, you are searching for gold. And the strangest part is this: thousands of years ago, people were willing to enter these dangerous places again and again for a metal that they could not eat, could not use as a weapon, and could not use to build a house. So why was gold worth risking a life for? And how did ancient miners actually get it out of the earth without modern machines, electricity, or safety equipment? The story of ancient gold mining begins with something surprisingly simple. Gold was different from almost every other metal people encountered. It was bright. It did not easily rust or decay. It could be shaped without complicated technology, and its color made it impossible to ignore. Ancient people first encountered gold in places where nature had already exposed it. Small pieces could sometimes be found in rivers and streams, mixed with sand and gravel. These pieces were known as placer gold. A person did not necessarily need to dig deep underground to find it. They could search along riverbeds, collect sediment, and separate the heavier gold from lighter materials. But there was a problem. The easiest gold to find was also the easiest gold to take. As more surface gold disappeared, miners had to search for new sources, and that meant going underground. This was where gold mining became a completely different kind of work. Imagine standing in front of a mountain thousands of years ago. There are no drilling machines, no excavators, no electric lights, no modern helmets, no reinforced steel tunnels. If you wanted to reach the gold hidden inside the rock, you had to break that rock yourself. Ancient miners used simple tools made from stone, wood, and eventually metal. But breaking hard rock with these tools was slow. In some ancient mines, miners discovered a clever technique. They could heat sections of rock with fire and then cool them rapidly. The sudden change in temperature could cause the rock to crack, making it easier to break apart. It sounds simple, but imagine doing this deep underground, surrounded by smoke and heat, inside a narrow tunnel. There was no modern ventilation system to quickly remove the smoke. Every breath could become more difficult, and the deeper the miners went, the more complicated the problem became. Water could enter the mine, the air could become poor, the tunnels could become unstable, and every piece of rock removed from the wall had to be carried away by human hands. Ancient gold mining was not just about finding gold. It was about removing an enormous amount of ordinary rock to reach a tiny amount of valuable material. That is one of the reasons the work was so demanding. A mountain might contain gold, but the gold could be spread through huge quantities of stone. So miners had to dig, break, carry, crush, and process the material again and again. In ancient Egypt, gold mining became especially important. Egypt had access to gold-bearing regions, particularly in the eastern desert. Gold was highly valued by Egyptian rulers and was associated with wealth, power, and the gods. Mining expeditions could travel far into harsh desert landscapes, where water was scarce and the environment itself was dangerous. But once miners reached a deposit, the work became even harder. They had to extract the rock, process it, and search for the precious metal hidden inside. The gold then became far more than a piece of metal. It could be transformed into jewelry, religious objects, ornaments, and symbols of royal power. And that created a powerful reason to keep mining. The people controlling gold could display wealth and influence. Gold could become a symbol of status. It could be given as an offering. It could be used to strengthen political power. So the demand continued. And as the demand increased, miners were pushed deeper and deeper into the earth. Some ancient mines became enormous underground systems. Think about what that means. A person could be working underground in a narrow passage, surrounded by thousands of tons of rock. The only light might come from a small flame. The only tools might be simple hand tools. And the only protection from falling rock could be whatever support the miners had managed to create. A mistake could have serious consequences. A tunnel had to be planned carefully. If too much rock was removed from the wrong place, the structure could become unstable. If water entered the mine, miners had to find ways to remove it. And if the mine became too deep, simply getting the broken rock back to the surface became a major challenge. Ancient miners sometimes used systems of shafts, ramps, and passages to move people and materials. They also developed methods for dealing with water, but these solutions required enormous amounts of labor. There was no single machine doing the work. There were people, lots of people. This is one of the most important things to understand about ancient mining. When we look at an ancient mine today, It can be easy to imagine that people simply walked inside and collected gold. They did not. Gold mining was a chain of exhausting tasks. Someone had to break the rock, someone had to carry it, someone had to crush it, someone had to process it, and someone had to identify the material that actually contained the gold. The valuable metal could be only a tiny fraction of everything they moved. So why would anyone accept such difficult work? Because gold had something that ordinary stone did not. It could concentrate wealth. A small amount could represent enormous value, and rulers understood this. For powerful kingdoms, gold was not simply decoration. It could help demonstrate authority and wealth. It could be used in diplomacy, religion, royal ceremonies, and elite objects. That meant the demand for gold could reach far beyond the miners themselves. But there was another side to this story. The people doing the most dangerous work were not necessarily the people who became wealthy from the gold. Mining operations could involve workers under the control of rulers, states, or wealthy authorities. The gold might travel from a dangerous mine to a royal treasury or workshop. The person who wore the finished golden object might never have seen the mine, where its material came from. That contrast is what makes ancient gold mining so fascinating. At one end was the glittering treasure, at the other was a dark underground tunnel, and between them was an enormous amount of human labor. Ancient miners also had to deal with something modern miners still take seriously today: the environment inside a mine. Deep underground, temperature could become uncomfortable. Smoke from fires could make conditions worse. Dust from crushing rock could fill the air. Water could appear unexpectedly, and narrow passages made movement difficult. Modern mining depends on engineering, ventilation, lighting, communication systems, protective equipment, and emergency procedures. Ancient miners had none of these technologies in their modern form. Their knowledge came from experience. They learned which rocks were dangerous. They learned how to support passages. They learned how to locate deposits. And generation after generation, mining knowledge developed through trial, observation, and hard-earned experience. Yet even with this knowledge, the work remained dangerous. And perhaps the most surprising part is that ancient people were willing to keep doing it. Why? Because gold had become more than a natural resource. It had become a symbol of wealth, a symbol of power, a symbol of beauty, and, in some cultures, something connected with the divine. The value people placed on gold was so great that they were willing to send human beings into places where almost everything was working against them. Darkness, heat, rock, water, distance, exhaustion, and uncertainty. Today, when we see an ancient golden mask, necklace, crown, or ornament inside a museum, we usually notice the beauty first, the smooth surface, the brilliant color, the craftsmanship. But behind that object is another story. Before the gold became beautiful, someone had to find it, someone had to extract it, someone had to carry it, someone had to process it, and someone had to survive the journey from the mine to the finished object. That is the hidden story behind ancient gold. It was never simply lying there waiting to be collected. For many ancient societies, gold had to be earned through extraordinary amounts of work, and every piece carried a history that began far below the surface. So the next time you see ancient gold shining under a museum light, remember something. The object may look soft, beautiful, and almost effortless, but its journey began in a world of stone, darkness, heat, and human labor. Long before gold became a symbol of luxury, it was buried inside the earth. And to bring it into the light, ancient miners had to enter some of the most difficult and dangerous places their world could offer. That is why ancient gold was so valuable, not only because it was rare, but because getting it out of the earth could demand an incredible human price.